He then comes to New York, and by '75, he's doing Jack and the Beanstalk, a ridiculous theatrical production. He plays the giant's wife. In 1976, he does Tableau, which was a whole series of ridiculous kind of sketches and pieces. In '76, he's in Caprice. He plays a bunch of characters in Caprice: LaFleur, Bertha, Althea. Also that year, Camille, so this must have been around '76, you all are talking. He plays Nechette, the maid. This is a replacement part. He's a second fill-in for this. In '77, Doreen, Fricka, and also in '77, Stage Blood. He plays Carlton Stone and Gilbert Fay. He works with the Trocadero Gloxinia Gospel Singers at that point in time, with Fruity Hellers also. And then his first production of his own work in New York City is actually here at LaMama.
Wow, yes.
He does Phaedra, a double bill, a light double bill of entertainment, Phaedra and Oedipus. That is from November the 30th to December the 5th here at LaMama. And that production, the cast, some of those cast members are here today. Ethyl was Phaedra, the narrator was Black-Eyed Susan, the chanteuse was Lola Pashalinsky, who is out there in the audience today. The tall Terpsichore was John Brockmeyer. The not-so-tall Terpsichore was Steve Burdick. The pianist was Tom Hardy, and then Oedipus also did Oedipus. Ethyl also did Oedipus, and then the list goes on and on. But I just wanted to kind of let you know that Ethyl's career starts here with the ridiculous and small fill-in roles for people, and then really starts with his solo work here at LaMama. And Phaedra was something that he wrote while he was at Trinity, and actually kind of performed late night for the Trinity cast. This kind of cut and paste version of the translation. I think it's the Robert Lowell translation of Phaedra.
And then the next thing, talked on stage, and the first big part that he wrote for me, I had to sing too. And I couldn't sing. But Ethyl was a master at exploiting people's weaknesses. So he wrote that song right out of my key, and I squeaked my way through it. I was playing an 8-year-old. So of course it brought the house down. And so I was wondering, does anybody remember anything where Ethyl exploited someone's strength or weakness? I mean, I know he also had Lady Bunny whistling, which I didn't know Lady Bunny could whistle, but boy, yeah, she can whistle.
I just remember one night being in the audience, I believe it was Herd of Buffalo at PS 122, or maybe Fiasco, and Ethyl was just throwing out Jacobean drama lines and asking me if I could name which play that came from. I said, I do not know if that's Camber Lane or what you're going at, but Ethyl would, throw out these mishmash lines that were just amazing because of, the actor's memory, having been in plays and reading plays, right? Just knew.
Well, also Ethyl was a big ad-libber.
Oh, yes.
And in an ensemble piece, of course, I mean, personally, I would just stand there repeating the cue line so I wouldn't miss it when I went by. And I was terrified to even listen to him do an improvisation. But, I mean, he wrote very complex scripts and yet was able to just go off on a flight of fancy.
Yeah, one thing about the fact that a lot of Ethyl's work happened in clubs. And, like say for instance the Pyramid Club, people are coming there to drink, to dance, and then maybe they're going to expect to see something, but to kind of come out like a cannonball, you've got to snag those people right away, otherwise they will throw things, be bored, talk, whatever. So the chops that it takes to nail that, to grab people, especially with Ethyl's choice of characters, mythology, and they may not know who Phaedra is, but to grab that audience and to compel them to accept you and to win. And I don't know how much it informed Ethyl's writing, but certainly club performance should be taught in performance studies programs. You should be required to do it. It's tough, And also, Ethyl set the rung really high.
Yeah. Yes.
I didn't, about that question.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is that Ethyl had so many layers in his writing. And so I remember being at plays where one person in the audience laughed. Like he could throw in a joke.
Pedro, that laugh, would be heard backstage at Ethel shows. And no one was tickled more than Ethel. So,
Well, also, the other thing that Lori can confirm is that backstage was as much fun as the audience was having.
it was like that between heaven and hell. Like you're not quite sure which way you want to go, so you want to keep a foot in both because it's unfucking believable what's happening. And everybody was a team. Everyone helped everyone, and there were props flying and papers flying and.
Yeah, because he had very prop-heavy productions and also musical instrument-heavy productions. You had to hand them a variety.
On this note, can I just say that there's someone here that I would be chagrined to not say, John Vernon, the technical person from ETC, is here, and Ethel adores this man, and if Ethel needed him, God somehow would emerge. So I think he's a legend, John, I just want to say.
Well, there is.
There's Peter Kramer. There's a lot of performers here, but as a tech team, we would have our beers and tell our own little stories. And John Vernon is a king amongst us. So I just want to say.
And also you had to be equipped to deal with highly flammable material.
And including him blowing fire from his mouth. So often you would see me, and I did this for Miller too, with a bucket and a fire extinguisher, which by the way, half of those fire extinguishers did not work. Now that it's PSNY, I can tell secrets. You couldn't afford fucking fire extinguishers, which
You
is
have to
why I had
like
a
pay
bucket.
monthly?
So anyway, that was all part of the magic.
Yes. Did he learn the blowing fire from the Karamazovs, I think, from that time? Yeah. He was just a sponge for all these things. And the thing with Sting, I remember he was the first thing, the street singer, right?
In Three Penny Opera, Ethel was the narrator, street singer, and Ethel was disturbed because they would not allow him to actually play the accordion. The accordion was synced up from the orchestra pit, right?
Broadway.
Because of Broadway musician rules.
Yeah.
This was before, we get all these musicals now, Sweeney Todd, where every actor on stage is playing an instrument, right? This was a different era, right? But the fire eating situation, apparently that is a very sacred art that can only be transferred from one person to another, and so one of the people in that Karamazov production decided that Ethel was the person they were going to pass this knowledge along to, and that is where then Ethel gained that skill. Ethel was always looking to gain a circus, vaudeville, burlesque kind of skill. I mean, Ethel was the high and the low, right? Ethel could never quite master the unicycle, though, right? That proved a little more difficult.
He was better at it than I was. I almost injured myself severely in my apartment with that unicycle.
Try it in heels.
I can't even get a heel on anymore. But I did also want to recognize some other people in the audience, like Lola Pashalinski. Pedro Rosado. And if any of you have any quick stories, then jump up right now and let us know.
No, we're running out of time.
Okay. All right, so we go back to the video. Yes. So the next video we're going to see is from HBO's Encyclopedia. And it's very interesting. It's just the end of the alphabet, which I'm not sure why that's what we have, but that's what we have. And it gives you an idea of sort of the range of things he was doing with that production. So, HBO.
I saw him, I was walking down, I think it was 6th Avenue when I was, before PS 122, and I walked into this bar called Snafu. And no one else was in it, but Ethel was playing. You know, he was like doing every Monday night or something like that, and I was, wow, you know, this is not Kansas anymore. And later, I mean, you know, came along, and I saw him at ABC and everything, and then when 122 got going, he was one of the first people we were inviting in. And he was amazing. You know, I was sort of trained by Ethel, I feel. and lead. He was so generous. I was trying to remember here, did anyone have dinner with Ethel where he would make this sort of pasta carbonara? Is this true?
Well, I
He would
was at
feed
his
everybody,
house
he taught
many
people
times for meals.
how to eat, you know? That you can make a meal with an egg and a couple of and some pasta, and you can sustain yourself. And so it was sort of a, boot camp for drag queens.
And who walked down the street with Ethel pushing the cart?
Yeah.
I got stopped with them before when people thought we were selling stuff. No, we're going for a
Well,
show.
that was always, after a show, and he would get his cast to carry the piano down the halls of PS 122 and onto this rolling cart, and they'd roll it home to Spring Street in the middle of the night. And it was, anyway.
And Ethel always had a shopping cart. All of Ethel's
Yeah.
props and everything were in a shopping cart. So that's the cart.
I could get it on wheels.
Yeah. There was a time once, should I do that? The opening night of the Palladium, a bunch of people were asked to perform. Were you there? Karen Finley,
Yeah.
I think you were there, Dance Noise, Ethel. It was like, we're part of the neighborhood, we're gonna open this big nightclub. And Dance Noise performed by climbing up these columns. And I don't know if you know Dance Noise, they do everything together, and they do it usually naked, and they do it usually with fake blood. So they climbed up the columns and they shot little bows and arrows at each other, and they took out the fake blood, and we were shut down. They came down the columns. Luckily, we all got paid, and we were told to leave. Everyone, we all got kicked out. And so in my memory, this is what happened. I could be wrong, but I do remember then we had to get to the Pyramid Club, and none of us, we didn't take taxis then, you walked. So in Ethel, in all her glory, and her, again, 6-inch heels, with her shopping cart, and she had a wig bigger than anything you've seen, with lit up flowers, a dozen flowers. We walked from Palladium, which is 3rd and 14th, to the Pyramid Club. And and this is like 87, I don't know if you check when Palladium opened. Gay bashing was relevant. And so when you were a freak, you got taunted. Not one person in that entire walk with me and Ethel pushing her cart said a mean thing. It was all honks and waves and love. And that's what Ethel brought. A room or an avenue or a walk was just sitting there watching. I found myself swaying like I used to do at her shows, where you're just like a little kid seeing something that just explodes your mind and your heart. And that's an Ethel experience.
I just wanted to hear a downstairs at the pyramid story.
Ethel wore poodle polish on her nails because it dried really quickly, like dog nail polish. Just these like flicks of color. The last thing she would do before climbing up the staircase, the tiny stage of the Pyramid Club. But a couple of things, these things floating around. Ethel did a piece called "Catherine Was Great," and she had little tiny little white satin girly thing on, and those heels. But then this short guy with these giant balloon thing, and the whole piece was this vocal track. Just changing poses. That's all it was. It's hilarious. I'm sitting there on the floor of the pyramid with John Dugdale and Peter Huger. We were dying. It was so funny. But I met Ethel. I was dating Eric Benson, who was a singer, and he knew Randy, this fixer of organs, who worked at St. John the Divine. And Eric took me to Randy's loft on 19th Street, and Ethel performed with a gusto, I think, an array of these incredible character studies, like 1979 or 1980. And then Ethel, in the basement of the Pyramid Club, soon after it opened, which had a dirt floor, introduced me to Larry Ray, the founder of the original Trocadero Gloxinia Ballet Company. And I wound up performing here soon after in Larry's company. But a couple of Ethel stories. Larry eventually staged a Macbeth ballet to the music of Verdi's opera, the ballet music, that Brian Taylor choreographed for us at a place called the Ballroom, or 28th and 8th. And Ethel played Lady Macbeth, but very expressionistic, and and we were the witches and all that. And then in the regular company season, it would end on the stage and other stages with the Russian dance. We had these kind of big Russian hats on and bejeweled blouses and these long tapestry dresses that were heavy, and the hem was a circle of fur. And when we would spin out, the dress would bell out into a big bell shape, and we would all, in formation be doing that, but we'd do it one at a time at first. And we were in our toe shoes because it was the end of the evening. When Ethel came out, she had heels on. Which is such a great touch, but Larry was so mad. They had a row every once in a while. But Larry, you mentioned the Trocadero concert.
The gospel
it was
choir,
called
yes.
the Skillet Lickers. Skillet Lickers. And we reprised it during the club with Ethel playing the piano, singing Gilbert and Sullivan, and playing tambourines. And that's all I know.
To play it, and the strap breaks. Yeah. And the room just stops, and Ethel is like, but at the same time caught my eye, and I pointed at the piano on the side of the stage, and just without letting the audience know, it kind of gave me that. And I pushed the piano out onto the stage, as Ethel said, "Oh, if I only had a piano." And the timing made me look heroic because often we didn't have a lot of help at PS. I already knew that I could push that piano alone. So there's Ethel, 7 feet tall, going, "If only I had a piano," and here's me squatting Polish-ish, pushing this piano out. And of course, we get a big roar and applause. And then I leave, and then I don't know what Ethel's going to do. And Ethel goes over to the piano, does a little bit more shtick, fixes the mic, and gets on her knees. And she sees me at this point, because I couldn't do the bench and the piano, and sees me coming with the bench and went, "Now, if dreams really came true, I'd have a piano bench." And I was just coming around her, and Donna shot the photograph. It was a magic Ethel. Generosity, sharing that moment of, could have just went, get a piano, get a bench, but instead made it like something that was so amazing. And one of the highlights, I've worked with a lot of people, I have a top 5 in my head. That was one of the top 5 moments. So, thanks.
Went to Rhode Island, and he was acting in a company there where they did classics, but not only that, they did modern plays that were serious. The first one I saw was in the early 70s. It was played here in New York, on Broadway, in one of those theaters, but way up in the air. We sat in the balcony, and he was so serious. I mean, I didn't expect anything else. I didn't know what to expect, but he was like just deadly serious. And I thought, what is this play about? Then, a few years later, I went with a couple of friends up to Rhode Island to see a production that he was in. And he said that the director there had finally caught on to him, that he could be humorous. And he was playing in this play a man who had his own business, and he was against other people that were trying to take his business away from him. But he was absolutely brilliant. He was funny as hell, but he was also, you could understand him as a businessman. He really got it. And he had the audience hysterical, laughing at times. And then he came to New York, and he was with Charles Ludlam for a while.
Now, I met Brian at the Limelight, only he was Tish Gervais then. And I have to tell you that Ethel told me that you were transsexual.
Oh, no, he didn't. I'm that bitch.
Because I had no idea.
I was undercover.
He told me that he had known you in Rhode Island, and I was like, really? Wow. And I hope you remember I made you a costume that got you in the Daily News.
Oh, yes, yes, the big lips.
That's right.
That's right. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, Ethel. Speaking of the ridiculous, you know, when I got here when I was 18. Just to backtrack a second before I get ahead of myself, when I was 16 and I met Ethel and I found out that he was an actor, I was like, oh my God, you could be gay and be an actor? I mean, I was like a 16, didn't know nothing about anything. And so that was very inspiring to me and intriguing. And then when I got to the city here, we lived over at the Albert Hotel on 10th Street. Yep. And I would run into, see him all the time at the candle shop. It was a regular stop. My friend and I.
Did you buy candles?
Not really. No, we just went and smoked cigarettes and smoked a joint or, whatever. But he was doing a play. And the play was called Camille. And I had, no idea what it was. I didn't know anything about the ridiculous. And I remember it so clearly. It was I was on 10th Street. It was on the 11th Street, I think, the Evergreen Theater, one of those little black box theaters over there. And I remember I had this most excruciating. Hello? There we go. Yeah, I had this the most horrible toothache I ever had in my life. And I didn't want to go. My friend says, we have to go. So we go into this theater. There's Charles Ludlam, and Ethel is playing, I think Nanine, the maid. And, as soon as we sit down and the lights come up and we, just the laughter was so incredibly healing. The toothache, I forgot about the toothache, and then I had, whenever he was doing something ridiculous, I would go see him over there.
Yeah, where do you want to be? Should we scoot over a little bit so that...
Do you want us to move?
Oh, no, I think we're just doing one number.
Ethel lives.
Make yourselves pretty! Think wholesome thoughts, girls. Sit with your knees together, feet on the floor, start in the basement, go through the yard, look both ways when you're crossing the boulevard. What do you think about that, Bob Dylan? You gotta believe in something. They're really kindness, and when we're wrong, they tried us, and if we're really good, and told we're told, oh, be happy, oh, so happy, and oh, so well, be happy, be happy.
da, da.